I'm emmyparris. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am bringing you guys an ostomy video. I've done a lot of beauty videos now on my channel between my last ostomy video, so I thought that I would share another one with you guys today. So today's video is going to be all about the ostomy products that you as an ostomy might need. There is a lot of information out there about ostomy products that is really overwhelming. I remember when I first got my ostomy, I was so overwhelmed by the amount of products that are available, different brands, and then just the same name for the same product. It's really overwhelming in an already overwhelming situation. So today I'm going to break down to you guys all of the products and their uses, why you would use them, and that kind of stuff. So this is kind of going to be your hub for ostomy product information. If there's any product in this video that you would like to see more information on, you can either leave a comment down below, that's what that comment section is there for, any questions or comments, or shoot me an email over at my email address, which is emmyparris@gmail.com. I'm thinking about making an email address just for my YouTube channel because that's my main email address, and so if you guys think that that's a good idea, maybe I should do that. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so I am in the middle of filming this video and I wanted to say this, and so I'm inserting it into the beginning. Your ostomy supplies, you will order through an ostomy supply company. Now this is a company, you can't buy them in person or through your hospital. You buy them through a medical supplier company. I personally used Liberator Medical. I can leave their website link down below. I absolutely loved them. They were recommended by my home healthcare team because another ostomate loved them. Their shipping is always on time. Their customer service is what makes me like them so much. Their customer service team is very knowledgeable. Their representatives know a lot of stuff. They also are very understanding, very kind, willing to work with you people, and that is why I love them. If I had to have an ostomy right now, I would 100% be going back to Liberator Medical. They have overnighted supplies to me, given me free samples when an order was backed up or something, which was very rare. They went above and beyond, and I recommend them to everyone. So when you first get an ostomy, whether you went into the surgery as a treatment option or like a planned surgery, or in my case it was an emergency surgery, you still aren't prepared. There's really no way to prepare for the situation, and there are stoma nurses who teach you this, or try to at least, but either they can't get to you right away because there are so few ostomy nurses, or two, in my case, I was on a lot of pain medication still, and I also was in denial. I didn't want to admit the situation that was happening to me, so I flat up told the ostomy nurse, like, I'm not even listening to you because I don't want to deal with this. And so then I got home and had to change my ostomy bag, and I didn't know what to do. I was really overwhelmed. So you know, that situation is really common, and support groups and stuff are really nice, but there's so many opinions and products coming at you at once that it is really overwhelming. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and I'll be inserting pictures here because I don't have a lot of ostomy products anymore. I've donated a lot of them. So the first ostomy product, basically the staple, is called a wafer. This can also be called a flange, a base plate. Some people even refer to this as a bag, but this is the adhesive plate, basically your appliance that you stick directly onto your skin. So the brand Hollister, there's also a brand Coloplast, Convatec, they all make these different kinds of base plates. I personally used only Hollister products throughout my ostomy journey. I tried a couple Coloplast products, but for the most part, I used Hollister. So okay, how do I know which wafer is the one for me? The way that you're going to be able to tell this is the size of your stoma. So stomas come in all shapes and sizes, depending on you and how your surgeon kind of constructed that. And so in these boxes of wafers come a template where you can measure your ostomy. If you guys want to see a video how to change your wafer, I can do that for you too. So that's kind of how you're going to see which wafer you need, is based upon how big your stoma is and what's going to fit inside there. Additionally, there are two different types of wafers depending on your stoma. So with my first stoma, Rosie, I was able to use a flat wafer that has a completely flat back. And you stick it just directly on your skin. You cut out the hole for your stoma, you stick it directly on your skin. There is also a wafer that is called a convex wafer. And what a convex wafer has kind of like a divot on the back of it. Once again, I'll insert a photo here. And what that does is it pushes the skin around the stoma inward so that it makes your stoma kind of pop out, which is nice for then in my second stoma's case, the hole was kind of at the bottom of the stoma, kind of at skin level. It wasn't directly in the middle. So I had to have something to kind of push that skin in, kind of pop that out so that the hole went over and made the stool go over the wafer and into the bag instead of underneath that wafer. So that's your biggest thing. You need a wafer.
So in the editing process, I realized that I didn't explain that there are also two different types of cutting techniques, or I guess three. There is a cut to fit wafer where you hand cut how big you want that stoma hole to be. There is also a mold to fit where you kind of stretch it to fit your stoma. And then are also pre-cut, which is a certain dimension that you could cut a little bit more, but it has a pre-cut dimension already out of it. So in addition to there being flat wafers and convex wafers, there's also the different sizing techniques of how exactly you are going to get this to fit your stoma size.
And like I said, I'm not going to go into how to change that, which I can do in another video, but it's really important that you get that wafer fitted. Underneath the wafer, there are a couple products. So so you take off your bag to change it. The first thing that you're going to want to do is clean all that skin off. Then, and whether you use adhesive remover wipes, that's a product out there. A lot of brands have them. I personally didn't use adhesive remover wipes. I use just warm water and a little bit of soap. You want to make sure that any soap that you use to clean your skin doesn't have any lotion in it, because that's going to keep that bag from really sticking and keeping that seal. So then, whether you use water, soap and water, or adhesive remover wipes, you're going to take that bag off of you. The next thing that you're going to do once you get that skin cleaned and prepped, so things that can go on the back of your wafer are Stoma Paste, barrier rings, or they also will call them barrier paste, or a stoma ring. It's all the same thing. So this is going to go on the back of your wafer. You can either apply these products directly to your skin and then push the wafer on, or apply it to your wafer and then stick it on your skin. That's the way that I like to do it. So the difference between the two is really just their application technique. They have the same products in them, and what they do is absorb moisture. So for me, in my instance, with my second stoma, because that hole was so close to the skin, it was inevitable that some stool and liquid was going to get underneath that bag and underneath that wafer onto my skin. And so basically Stoma Paste or barrier rings just help to keep the longevity of your wafer by absorbing some of that moisture. Now, my personal preference is Stoma Paste. I prefer that. I recommend the Coloplast Brava No Sting. You can actually get this on Amazon. The difference is that the Hollister brand contains alcohol in it. They don't have an alcohol-free paste, and the Coloplast Brava paste has no alcohol in it. So I had a horrific experience where I didn't think about the fact that it had alcohol in it, and I had very raw, weeping, bloody skin and stuck an alcohol paste on my skin, and so it would burn so bad. So basically the alcohol-free is a no sting paste, which is really, really nice. That's the one that I would recommend to you. Now, the reason that I don't like the rings is because for me personally, they puff up a little bit too much. They would kind of get underneath my wafer and block that stoma hole. I find that they absorb too much liquid, like even like sweat and just like steam, I guess, and like moisture from your stool, and I found that they would puff up too much and actually pool away from my skin, which made leaks worse. The reason that people like barrier rings, and they also come in barrier strips, is because they're easy to apply. The Stoma Paste is messy. It comes in like a toothpaste tube, but it's a very thick consistency, so people like that they're able to get just a perfect circle that they stick on the back of that wafer instead of having to kind of like work with this like goopy product. So I do see that aspect of it, and you'll kind of have to do trial and error, figure out what works for you. You might not even need these products. I know that with my first stoma, less products were better for my stoma and my ostomy situation, but I know that for some people they need a lot of products. So another product that can go underneath your wafer is Stoma Powder. So Stoma Powder you want to use if you have weepy skin from stool getting under there, a leak, something like that. I also would get these really itchy red bumps just because I'm very sensitive to adhesives, and so the red bumps, just to kind of soothe them. So you dust the Stoma Powder. It comes, sometimes they come in like shaker bottles, like salt bottles looking things, or they come with like a nozzle. And so you shake that all over your skin, kind of let it sit on that weepy skin. And then I went and bought a face powder brush, a makeup brush, and I would dust that off. You can also use toilet paper, whatever works for you, but I found that that makeup brush really worked well. And you can go ahead and just stick your wafer onto that, but what makes it work really well in creating a barrier is a technique called crusting, which I didn't understand what this first meant when I first came home. I would read these articles and I was so overwhelmed. So crusting is kind of what it sounds like. It basically builds a crust, and in order to do this, you need this product. It is called barrier spray, and they also make it in wipe form. For me personally, I liked the barrier spray over the wipe because I found that the wipe left kind of like a funny residue. It didn't really dry down, and it would sometimes wipe the powder away, which defeats the purpose. You want to kind of, it would be like if the powder was curling your hair and the barrier spray is the hairspray. So you're kind of doing this treatment on your hair, but now you want to seal it. Like, okay, yeah, you can leave it without hairspray on, but if you want it to really work well, you seal it, right? So you spray this on there, let it dry. Now, if your skin is really upset and you know that you're having an issue with stool getting under there in the same spot, you can do another layer of powder before that, because the only way that the powder is really going to stick is if something's wet. So you want to apply your powder while that spray is still wet, and you can get all of these products on your stoma. It's not going to hurt your stoma. As long as nothing is getting like in that hole, you are going to be fine. So you apply that powder again to that still tacky spray, and then dust off the excess, and then do a final spray. Now this will leave, I found that anytime I touched my stoma with something like that, it would kind of get this white goopy film on it. So you can just wipe that off with a paper towel or your hand or a wet washcloth. So one of the most important things I will say is you want to make sure before you apply that wafer that your skin is nice and dry. So now you've applied your wafer, you've got your products all underneath it. The next thing that you need is a bag to collect it. Now, like I said, there are a lot of brands. Hollister, Coloplast, and Convatec are definitely the most known. I would say most ostomates use between Hollister and Coloplast. There are different brands that work with different sensitivities and that kind of stuff, but that's something I think that you should ask your stoma nurse for. They're going to recommend Hollister or Coloplast. Now, there are different kinds of bags. With my first stoma, I used a closed-ended bag. Closed-ended bags work really well with colostomies because their stool is very slow moving and formed, and so it wouldn't be easy to kind of squeeze out the bottom of a drainable pouch. A drainable pouch is just what it sounds like. I actually have one, hold on. I actually had one sitting right over there. So this is a drainable pouch, and as you can see on the back of here, this is what's gonna click onto your wafer. And so the bottom of this has a Velcro strip that you unroll, and stool comes out of it like this. I can't get it open, but it just opens right up, and stool comes out of the bottom. So then you can just roll this back up, tighten it, and then you can kind of tuck this edge back into the bag, and that's really nice. like so. Now, Hollister's, all of their bags are this tan color. I do really like Coloplast bags. Theirs are a really pretty gray material. These can get kind of fuzzy, but the Coloplast bags are actually really pretty bags, I will say. Okay, so now that you have this bag on, there are a couple, so you've got all your ostomy stuff on. There are a couple things that you can use after this that are kind of like accessories. One of those things is called a Stoma Belt, and a Stoma Belt will hook on to these little things. You can actually get these on Amazon. You don't have to go through like your ostomy supplier. Okay, so you can buy a Stoma Belt from Amazon if you need it overnighted or something, or you can go through your Ostomy Supply company. And what a Stoma Belt does is it hooks onto these little hooks right here, and it pushes that wafer in really tight, so it makes your stoma pop out more. So if you're having trouble with leaking, a Stoma Belt is really great because it pops that stoma out and pushes that skin in, so that it makes sure that the stool really gets over the edge of that wafer. So I will be honest, it is a little bit uncomfortable, but I found that I really only needed to wear a Stoma Belt with my second stoma for like the first 12 to 24 hours. So I would change my wafers in the morning, and I would put that Stoma Belt on and wear it for that first day, and then it was fine after that. It really just keeps that seal tight. Another great tool, I guess, to use when having a bag is I personally didn't like to tuck a bag into my pants, and I know a lot of women feel this way because as it starts to fill up here at the bottom, you might not be ready to empty it yet, but it starts to look like a penis in your pants, to be honest with you, especially since I wear tight clothing and I'm very small framed. It was really obvious. So I like to wear my bag on the outside of my pants, but I didn't want this showing. So I actually went and bought Stoma Covers. It's called an ostomy cover. I can leave a couple Etsy shops links down below of some of my favorites. And actually the black, I had gotten a black, a white, and then a Mickey Mouse pattern just for fun. But because I wear dark denim just normally and I have a lot of black clothing, it was really unnoticeable. I'll put a picture here, and you can't tell that I'm even wearing an ostomy bag in the photo. It blended really nicely. I'll also insert a picture here of I'm wearing white pants, and you can't tell there either that I really have an ostomy bag. So that is really great. That's something that I really recommend. There are also different wraps that you can wear, and that's really nice. I actually want to do a video talking about dressing with an ostomy, so if that's something that you would be interested in, give this video a thumbs up or let me know down below. Just some different outfit and different tips and tricks on how to dress your ostomy, but that is another great option. You will also hear people talking about, so let's say your bag really stinks, or you're having issues of what's called pancaking, where it's really thick and it wants to sit right up in here, like in your wafer. What you can use is deodorant. It is a ostomy bag deodorant. It comes in a liquid. So you would just kind of pour it in, kind of work it around in the bag. I've also heard of people using like Pam or baby oil. I wouldn't use baby oil personally and let it get up in here because that will break down your wafer. Like oil is gonna mess with that wafer seal. And so that I really like. There are also, if you're having really liquidy output, they make little tablets that you can stick in the bottom of your bag that will form that stool, so it's a little bit easier to just kind of push out instead of having a lot of water in here. Okay, and then one of the last products are, I'm not exactly quite sure what they're called, but I'll have the name and a photo of them right here. These are little sticky things that you can put on the edge of your wafer if you're having trouble with that peeling up too soon. I guess what I will say about these is I personally didn't need them. The reason for these is to create more surface space to, I guess, keep that, how do I say this, to keep that wafer really up and on you. Obviously, the more surface space you have, the tighter that seal is gonna be. I personally never needed them, and I actually didn't really like them. I found that I couldn't shower with them on, and I found that that edge still rolled up and would get like black fuzzies, depending on what I was wearing, underneath that edge. I just personally didn't like the way that they looked, but that's totally up to you. Like I said, a lot of this is just trial and error. what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work for you, and that's why I recommend kind of experimenting in the beginning before you're having to head out of the house, because the last thing you want is to be experimenting with something, go out of the house, and then have something go wrong. With that being said, I would recommend having a full change in with you when you leave the house. So that's going to include every product that you need, a pair of scissors, you know, washcloths, that kind of stuff, ready. That way if you have to change out in public, like in a bathroom, you're okay. And I promise you, changing out in public is not that bad. I actually had to change my wafer, like my whole ostomy situation, in an airplane bathroom. It was a true test to, okay, do you really know what you're doing? This is like the Ostomy Olympics. Like, change your ostomy in an airplane bathroom while you're up in the air. And so I promise it's not that bad. One thing I will say though, when you are changing your ostomy, and maybe now I'll make a video really going in depth into changing your ostomy bag, is to have a plastic bag ready to toss things in, unless you're going to take that trash out, because everything does kind of smell. You want to make sure that you kind of can just like tie it up and toss it. We bought diaper trash bags. They were like Arm & Hammer brand, and those worked really, really well.
Okay, so post-editing, Emily is back again to let you know a reminder to this emergency ostomy changing kit. You don't want to leave it in your car, because I have had bags melt together in my car. I've had products get bad from the heat in the summer, or get really hard in the winter, and so you want to make sure that you're bringing this in and out of the house every time you leave. I know that it's super annoying, but nothing is worse than having to change your ostomy appliance, but everything is messed up because of the heat or the cold, because you left your bag in your car.
So I guess that's all for ostomy products. I feel like there's so much more that I could say, but a lot of that has more to do with changing your ostomy wafer. I do have a video called Changing My Ostomy, which I will have a card up here. No, up here. Somewhere up here there will be a card giving you guys a link to that video. The one thing that I will say with that video is that there's a lot of things that I wish I had said. And I also had a very easy ostomy routine back then. So if you guys would like to see that video, give this one a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. I love reading your guys' comments. I promise I do. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.